It's Jack Wallen again, and I know that I have been producing a lot of these videos, but part of it is because, well, I enjoy it. The other part is I have a lot to say, and sometimes it comes out in big bunches, and sometimes it trickles out a little bit. Now, I was originally going to do something else today, but last night, interestingly enough, my wife and I were watching the latest episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it was pretty good. Well, there was a moment during that episode that struck a chord in me. And I'm not going to spoil anything because maybe you haven't watched it. It's hilarious, as usual. But there was a moment where Larry and this young lady was walking into a party. And the young lady was walking into a party almost as if she were streaming it live on TikTok or any given social media network. And it reminded me of something that I used to battle a lot back in the day. And by back in the day, I mean 5, 7, 10 years ago, when social media really started becoming a problem for artists. And one of the things that came about during that time was there were a lot of writers who all of a sudden decided that they were going to approach this as a business. And unfortunately, in some cases, to the detriment of their craft. They focused all of their energy on turning themselves into a business. And the big question that was bandied about at that time was, and it even pains me to say this here, what is your brand? Oh, I apologize, but this subject really gets me going. I am not a brand. A brand is a company that sells something, a company that is in business to make as much profit as possible at the expense, at times, of the people. Now, I'm not saying that every brand is like that, but there are such negative connotations from, hello, Oni, she's back. There are such negative connotations with that term for me. To be a brand means she wants to chime in here. She believes the same way that I do, because Oni Baloney, the cat, is not a brand. At least I don't think she is. She better not be. She's one of my family members. And anyway, that's not the point. I, again, am not a brand. I have something that I have created. I have many somethings, like almost 60 somethings that I have created, that I have poured my blood, sweat, and tears into to create, that you can purchase, you can consume, you can enjoy. But to me, the idea of saying I am a brand slaps my craft in the face. I am not a brand to sell. Me, I am not a brand. I am a human being. I am a very complicated, and my wife will verify that, I'm a very complicated person with wants and needs and layers and dimensions, and I am more, and some people, some writers that I know might gasp when I say this, but I am more than the words that I write. I am, yes, a writer. I make a living as a writer, but I'm also an actor. I'm also a cat daddy, as you've obviously heard. I'm a husband. I'm a stepfather. I'm a lover of music. I'm an audiophile, which is a problem in and of itself. I am many things. I'm a runner. I'm a cyclist. I am the sum total of the things that make me. And social media and this idea of I am a brand wants me to water it all down or turn it into one particular thing that I could be known for. Early on, when I was knee deep in the midst of writing my zombie series, a fan of that series started calling me the Zombie King. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe I could market myself as the Zombie King. And then all of a sudden, after a bit of trying that, I started feeling really self-conscious about it. I felt dirty. I felt silly. It's like, why would I want to limit myself to that? Because as a writer, think about this, as a writer, I have written horror, I have written comedy, I have written thrillers, I have written romance, I have written fantasy, I have written all sorts of genres. Not only that, but I've written plays, I've written screenplays, I've written stage plays, poems, you name it. I've written it. So why would I want to brand myself as the Zombie King? Or why would I want to brand myself as a writer of romance? Because that pigeonholes me. And not only pigeonholes me, it does no justice to all of the other things that I write. And according to social media, if I want to brand myself, I have to really narrow it down. Well, let me relate that to another thing. As an actor, one of the worst things that could happen to me personally is to get pigeonholed. And that started happening to me for a while, not early on, but maybe early-ish midpoint in my career, when I was with one of the biggest children's theaters in the country, and I started to get pigeonholed as the young male ingenue. Well, let's think about that for a second. If I get pigeonholed as a young male ingenue, eventually Father Time is going to say, nay, nay, you're too old to play the young boys in the shows. So that would do me no good. On top of which, I love playing all sorts of characters. And I have played a large scope of characters on stage. You name it, and I've done it. I've even played women at times. So it would have done me no good to brand myself as an actor. Because for me, branding myself is pigeonholing me. On top of which, it tells me, this is my perspective here, when I brand myself, it tells me that the creative things that I do, my craft, is a business. Now, ever since I have been an actor, which is a very long time, I have kind of looked at it this way. The rehearsal part is the craft. And once the show is opened, it becomes a product for people to consume. Because once the show is opened, it's kind of set in stone. That's the way this show is. This is the show that we're going to sell to the audiences. And this is the show that the reviewers are going to review, and so on and so on. And that's great. And I can also view my writing work that way. The process of writing a book is the craft. It's the art. Once the book is edited, proofed, and published, then it becomes a product. And I separate those two intentionally because I don't want the product to in any way infect the craft, the art. Because to me, and I know that maybe I'm a little unique in this, but to me the art is sacred. Both as a writer and an actor, the art is sacred. And to infect that with business, to say that my art has a brand, is an insult to me. And I'm not going to lie, I struggle on social media. I struggle because of that very thing. I don't want my art to be sullied. And I've noticed this on a number of occasions. For example, when I get in like Facebook events, when it's a book release event, and I used to try to do these years ago, and I would do them with other writers. You know, we would all have a release parties, and I would notice that all of the other writers are doing this one specific thing, asking silly questions and posting memes and all that. Whereas what I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about the art. I wanted to talk about the minutia of creating what I created. I wanted to really get into the thick of things, and I realized very quickly that readers and audiences really, they weren't that interested in talking about such things. And I had trouble with that. I had trouble going, okay, well, I'm going to kind of I'm going to ask these silly questions that have absolutely nothing to do with my work and these books, just so I can entertain an audience. And that's kind of part of this problem that I have, that even mainstream publishers pretty much say that if you really want to succeed, you have to be able to create 10-second TikTok entertainment videos to capture an audience. And if you don't have a massive TikTok following, you're not going to succeed. Well, why is that? Does that have to be? On top of which, TikTok is mostly for young people, right? Just like young people say Facebook's for old people. I'm not going to get on TikTok and be a monkey grinder and dance for my supper. I already did the dance when I spent 2 months writing a first draft of a novel, and then spent 2 months with an editor editing the novel. That's my monkey dance. That's my brand. My brand is an artist. And I bleed and weep and suffer for my art. And I'm not going to insult it by turning it into a proposition. It's just not in me. And I'm not saying that that's not right for you. But if you're a young writer, if you're not maybe young, if you're new to the process of writing, what I would say to you is write. Hone your craft. Worry more about your skills as a writer and getting in touch with your muse and really, really understanding the craft of writing before you even think about whether or not you're going to be a brand. And if you do decide that you're going to be a brand, understand that you have to separate that from your art. Otherwise, you're going to run into problems. And that's my rant of the day. And maybe this is insulting to you, or you don't believe in this, and that's fine, because it takes a village, right? So that's what I have to say, and I hope that you've maybe got something out of this. I don't know. I just had to get this off my chest, and this was my favorite platform to do that. Anyway, thank you again for giving me a moment of your time. And I know that your time is so precious, so it means a lot to me. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please share it with somebody, subscribe, whatever you like. But most importantly, have a wonderful, wonderful day.